She had been intrigued by one promising category, folie à deux. The definition read, delusion develops in an individual in the context of a close relationship with another person who has an already established delusion. That almost worked, except that her delusion, if that's what it was, came before the relationship with Ned. Or had Ned caught it from her, so he was the delusional one? Which came first, the chicken or the egg? This was ridiculous. Was she delusional? She didn't think so. But did any crazy people believe they were crazy? What about Ned? She hadn't known him long enough or seen enough of him to make a final judgment. He seemed sane enough, but he was also clearly smart. And smart people were often good at concealing their own peculiarities so they could function in society. That's how serial killers managed to go on killing, because they could pass as normal. What was wrong with her? Why the dark thoughts? Well, if she was going to be honest, she missed Ned. She'd lost count of how many times she had come across an interesting fact as she read the old books in the library and thought, I have to tell Ned about this. Well, she hadn't shut the door completely, just asked him for a time out. It troubled her how quickly she had come to depend on him. She had depended on Brad far too much, for her own plans, for her entertainment, for her purpose in life. He had proved to be inadequate. Ned was a better choice, at least he paid attention to her, but she didn't want to lean on anyone that way again. Or at least the leaning should be mutual, not one-sided. Learn from your mistakes, Abby. After a quiet evening with a book that had nothing to do with history or spirits or romance, Abby went to bed. Monday promised to be challenging, as did every day between now and April 19th. She needed a rest. While she arrived at the museum at her usual time the next morning, she felt like she was dragging. She hoped focusing on her work would help. While school groups could be taxing, she usually felt revived by eager kids, including the ones who didn't see the point of learning about history, even in their own backyard. For Abby, it was always a challenge to figure out something that would spark their imaginations and make them see long-past events in a different light. She spent the morning polishing her presentations and swapping out some visual materials for different ones. Leslie stuck her head in Abby's door just before noon. Lunch? Do you really have time to leave the building? Abby said, only half joking. No, but if I don't get out of here and get some fresh air, I'll lose it. Come on, you look like you could use a break too. All right, you're the boss. Abby gathered up her jacket and bag and followed Leslie out of the building. They walked to the nearest restaurant, since their time was short, and were lucky to find a table. After they'd ordered, Leslie looked Abby in the eye and said, What I would have said earlier is that you look like somebody broke your dolly and stomped on it. Work getting to you? Abby shook her head. No, not at all. I find I really do enjoy working with kids. Well, I knew I did, but I was happily surprised how quickly it all came back to me. I'm having a good time with them, and I'm experimenting with some changes. Leslie looked relieved. Good, because the reviews have been consistently good. Translation, the kids like you, and so do the teachers. Keep it up. The waitress delivered their sandwiches and drinks, and then Leslie said, So, if it's not work, why do you look so down? Trouble in paradise? Normally, Abby would have given a bland and evasive answer, but this was Leslie, and Leslie knew Ned well, which more or less gave her the right to ask, although she probably wouldn't press if Abby asked her to back off. I assume you're talking about Ned. Well, not trouble, exactly. I kind of asked him to give me a little time off. Okay, Leslie said cautiously. Is that a brush-off, as in, please go away forever? No, I don't think so. It's just that, well, you know, a lot of things happen very fast, and it's like my brain is only now catching up with it all. I love my job. I like my house, only it's not mine, and I'm...